Hello friends, I'm Corolla. On Instagram, I'm at From Corolla. In this video, I want to chat to you about how my planners and journals have been going in the first month of 2026 and do a flip through and show you how I've been using them and adjusting them going into February. If you haven't seen my video talking about my lineup for 2026, make sure you see that video and then come back for the update. So setting aside my journals, first we'll talk about my planners. I have two main basic planning systems, and in terms of planning, they keep me functional, on top of my tasks, organized, and on top of schedules and things like that. So my two main planning systems are the Plotter A5 and the Traveler's Notebook in a passport size. My main catch-all is the Plotter. So this has worked for me for a couple of years now. And the way I use it is to sort of catch-all everything. So I have monthly diary refills as well as weekly pages. And you can see that it's slim. I don't keep all of the pages that I need for a full year in here. I keep all the month refills, but I keep about a month's worth of weekly refills in here. So I'm not going to do a full flip through just because the way I'm using it is to jot down my projects and things like that. So I'm not going to share all the details about that, but here's sort of a blank monthly setup, and I have tabs here. I got this idea from April, actually, from Penguins Creative or Penguins Post on Substack, and I think that's a great way of using the Travelers Company tabs to sort of keep these pages organized in the plotter. So I have pages in the front that let me stay on top of chores and things like that, organized, and then I have the monthly pages, and then I have weekly pages, and it's just to jot down deadlines, projects I'm working on, sort of staying on top of the progress I've made on projects. So that's the basic setup of my plotter. It's really useful. It's a desk planner, so it sits on my desk. I don't need to carry it around with me, but it does sort of keep me grounded in terms of projects I'm working on and making sure I don't forget about, certain steps and the progress that I make on those creative projects. So because this planner plotter, because this plotter doesn't go with me anywhere. I don't travel with it. I don't sort of walk around the house with it. I do need a system that I can carry around with me if I'm out of the house or if I'm just sort of out and about. And I need to have a list of, my goals and priorities for each day. And that's where the Traveler's Notebook passport size comes in. So I also carry a Tom Studio Field Mouse. It's a reusable fine liner, really, really handy if I need to, take notes on the go. And it's kind of nice to have. So this is my simple setup for leaving the house with a planner. So the first insert I have in here is a lightweight insert. I'm reusing an insert that I started maybe a couple of years ago where I was writing down like quotes that I really enjoyed. And then I stopped using it. So this was actually beginning of 2025. So a year ago, and I wrote down a couple of notes and then I stopped using the insert. So this year I'm reusing it or repurposing it for just daily planning. I'll give you a little flip through of this. So in the front, I usually write down intentions for the book, and it's just my way of feeling or knowing how I want to use the book. And it's always kind of nice to come back to it if I lose track of why I even have a book or an insert in my lineup. So the way I'm setting up the weeks are a weekly log similar to a hybrid sort of bullet journal style. I just list out what I want to get done for the week, and then I have a page per day, and just writing down tasks as well as rapid log journaling throughout the day. So anytime something happens in the day, I come in here and I just simply sort of write it down in bullet form, and no thoughts or anything attached to that. So it's not really a journal, but it is sort of a rapid log of just things as they happen throughout the day. And if I want to write down tasks as I sort of move through them, then this is a great place to put it. And in some cases, I also use little stickers, mostly from the Coffee Monsters Co., that just sort of add a little bit of visual interest to each page. And so that's how I've been using it, and I've really enjoyed this. I think this is a great size for portability and flexibility. So because it's just a blank page, I don't have to use it if I don't need it. But so far I have. So it's kind of a great way of seeing, each day just as in a bird's eye view kind of way. So I don't have to write nitty gritty things. That's what I do in my plotter. But in here, I can come in and just write down the priorities that I want to get done for the day and have that with me if I need to. And because they're blank pages, I do use the pencil board. So this is a Travelers Company pencil board from a few years ago, I think, and 2024. So a year ago. And I do like using this pencil board for providing grid lines. So if I just go to a blank page, so I write the the day and the date, and then I also have a circle here. So let's see. So for example, I'll put it behind a page, and then I'll use this grid just to write the date, and then I draw this circle that actually is on the pencil board, so I just trace that. And I'll more on that later actually as I sort of walk through this, but I use this pencil board just to write on top of because it gives a sturdy sort of backing, especially if you're kind of writing with the notebook in its cover. If there's something bulky underneath, having the pencil board here just makes it a little sturdy. And so then I just log the tasks that I'm working on. At the end of the week, or on a Monday usually, when I'm writing the current week's log of tasks to do, what I do is I just review the previous week day by day and see if there's any outstanding tasks that I need to migrate into the following week. And as I review each day, I do one line across diagonally in that circle, and then if I've looked at all of the tasks and all of the things for that day, and I'm done with that day, so I can move on. I don't need to review it again. I just X off. I just draw an X at the top there, and that signifies to me that I don't need to review this page again. And if it's not X'd off, then there's something there that I need to review or take a look at, and usually I do that on a weekly basis. And so that's how I'm setting up and going through day by day, using this as my planner to go, or my everyday carry, or wallet planner, whatever you kind of want to call it. The other thing I have in here in the back are a couple of sticker release pages or papers from the Travelers Company sticker release insert. And I just pulled out a few pages and I put in stickers that I kind of want to use in this insert. They're from the Coffee Monsters Co. This one is just icon samplers. Then I have the general holidays. And so when I, get to the day for each holiday, I put that in as well. And then just some little icons and stickers that might be useful. And I just insert this in the back here. And that will kind of sit in the craft folder. So I do have an inverted craft folder. just to use as a way to hold the inserts in place, as well as a few sticker sheets. So in the back, I have a couple of sticker sheets that are useful. For the daily insert, I have to do and then the week number. So for the weekly log, it's helpful. And then within the middle and using the elastic, I have this monthly insert. It's Undated from Traveler's Company, and I'm repurposing it. So I did use it last year for trip planning. And so it's thinner because I ripped out the pages that I did use. I think it was a few months worth. So I actually have 6 months in this insert, and I'm just using it as sort of future log, if in bullet journal terms. And so it's kind of nice to just write down like events and trips that I'm going to be taking in here. And then that will guide what I write in this insert, which is from Sterling Ink. It's just a grid booklet, and I've set it up for each week, and so this is kind of what it looks like. It's 2 weeks, so it's 1 week per page, 2 weeks per the 2 pages. So it's kind of a bird's eye view of upcoming appointments and events that are going to be happening. I write that down in this column. And then this column is just reminders for the day. If they're day specific things that, for example, I have to send something to school with my kids or something, I write that down here because I will look at this schedule first thing in the morning every day just to remind myself of what's going on that day in terms of my schedule. And reminders. And so I have 6 months worth of weeklies in here. And then that leaves me with sort of half the booklet still. And in the back, I have finance, budget. I also track happy mail and things like that. Like they're kind of more note pages. So that's how I'm using that. And it's kind of nice to set it up 6 months at a time. So that, I have space to take notes if I want to. And I have another booklet for the rest of the year if I end up going with the system. So keeping it low pressure, planning 6 months at a time, I think really works for me because I don't have the expectation that I have to use this for a full year. And one of the things I talked about in my video about my lineup for 2026 is that my lineup tends to change and shift based on the season, especially when my kids are on summer vacation. So the summer months, I do less planning, but also I need things to be portable so I can take them with me when I'm out of the house with my kids. And so that's one of the things I had to take into account. And being able to sort of plan for 6 months and then figure out what's going to be, my lineup for July onwards, I think is a helpful way of sort of coming at planning. So that's my planning system, the Plotter A5 as well as the Traveler's Notebook. I did want to mention just special mention to the Plotter Mini 5. I talked about this a little bit in my lineup video, and I wasn't too sure what I was going to use it for. Initially, I thought maybe I would use it just for tracking purposes, tracking habits and things like that. I did get this gifted by the Plotter team, so I didn't plan on having this in my lineup initially, but I have been playing around with it a little bit. It's so portable, it's so handy, and it's so small, right? So you can use it as a wallet or kind of a notebook on the go, and I've been using it for notes. So I've been taking it everywhere with me. It's easy to throw into my purse, it's easy to put in my pocket, and I've been taking it everywhere with me to take notes and just write down quick sort of to-do lists and just list making of any kind. I've also sort of set it up to track Happy Mail, as well as sort of plan my hobbies. So anytime I sort of make an order, I add that here. I use it horizontally because it is tiny. So trying to write really small in here, for me, it works if I have this horizontal. And then I just jot down, if I purchase something or require a new pen or ink or something that's hobby related. And then I also just do a little bit of planning. So I do like wish lists. I do pens that I want to ink up and what inks I might want to use and things like that. And then I've set up little cute little folders and just trying to reuse and repurpose papers and vellum and things that I have on hand that I'm not using, and trying to sort of incorporate it into my systems. Also keeping lists of books that I'm going to be reading or am reading, and just a bunch of like scribble notes. Then I also have a punched blotter paper in here. So that's in there as well. And yeah, these are all papers that I cut up from notebooks where I had extra papers. So this is like OG Tomoe River paper from a week's planner that I had, and then other sort of grid paper. And then I also added some plotter paper. So I did get some refill pads from Plotter. So I added those as well. And then here's my pen loop. And the pen that I'm using is the Tom Studio Lumos Mini. So it's a fine liner. Really handy to use. And it fits in this pen loop, so or the pen holder. So this is kind of really fun to carry around, and very handy. Instead of pulling out my phone to write notes or jot down things, I can easily pull this out and write things. So I'm really interested in seeing how this sort of evolves as well. And reaching for it when I need to. Now we get into my journal systems. So I've been using the Plotter Square. I've had this for a year, and I'm using it for hobbies related journaling and tracking. Again, wrote down my intentions, books that I've read, and this is from my Plotter Mini 5. So I have this in my Plotter Mini 5 as I go through the month, take notes from books that I'm reading and things like that. And then I've set this up to document how many ink samples, bottles, and fountain pens I have at the end of the month. And I'm kind of interested to see that, month over month. Then when I get a new pen or nib, I do a little bit of sampling, so doing a little drawing and writing. And then throughout the month, I just write down every time I ink up a pen, I write with that pen just to have a little sample of that. So that's my running, currently inked log. And then as we get into February, I'll just note down February and then keep going. I have a punched blotter sheet, so that's helpful. Ongoing reading log every time I finish a book. This is when I met up with a friend and tried her pens. So this is kind of nice to have as well. Just some papers that I can use to write with pens that I'm trying, or ink sampling. And then so forth. And then I have, pages that I can use. These are actually Midori cream paper. I cut this up from an A6 notebook that I was almost done with, and I was just using it as scrap paper to finish the notebook. And I decided the paper is really nice, so I cut it up, I threw it in here. So now I can use this as, paper to sample inks and things like that, because it does handle fountain pen inks really well. And I do love cream paper, so and then just like a bunch of paper in the back. This is from last year when I went to pen shows. So pens I sampled, nibs I sampled and tried out. And that's kind of nice to have as a reference for now. So I can just flip through if I want to see what pens I've tried, and what nibs I've tried. And so that's kind of useful to have. And then I just have this lifter with band on here as well. So that's how I'm using the plotter square for hobbies related things. And then I have this Midori A5 notebook. It's lined, and I'm using this just for a simple stream of consciousness writing. And I do this every morning with a cup of coffee. I'm not going to show you too much detail. But this is where I use my fountain pens, especially with broad or wider nibs. And it's a great way of just enjoying the writing experience with my fountain pens and just getting thoughts on paper without filtering them. And so this habit came out of reading The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and I've continued that. So I really enjoy the time that I spend writing Stream of Consciousness. The next book we'll talk about is the Hobonichi 5-year, still going strong. I'm in my 3rd year, so I have, a few more years to go. And yeah, I really enjoy writing in here as well. The paper is great. There's enough space. I'm using it as an archive. So it's just an archive of events. So daily events as they happen for me and my family. And the purpose behind this book is that one day I'll share this with my kids, and they'll have this as sort of a record of events as they happened in our family's lives. That's the Hobonichi 5-year. No notes on that. It's going really well. Then we have 2 sort of creative journals that I like to spend time in. This is my daily journal, I'd say. So I go in here on a daily basis. And so the first insert is the Love and Trip insert from Traveler's Company. And how I'm using this is I have the Sora desk calendar. And so every day, it's a tearaway calendar. So every day I just put the calendar page, I guess. And then I do a little bit of journaling, and I use washi and stickers throughout. And you can kind of see I vary my angle of writing just to kind of fit 3 days worth because I don't need a full page per day. And so I've kind of split it up in that I use, I use these 2 pages for 3 days. That way the insert will last me a little bit longer. So initially I was using a Pilot Custom 74 with a broad nib, and then I switched over to my Sailor Pro Gear Slim with a medium nib, and I put this bright Amairo from Pilot Irishizuku. It was kind of just a bright blue. So daily kind of journal, just, highlights or something that happened during the day that I want to journal about. And then I've also incorporated a practice that I did in a Hobonichi 5-year A6 for the past 4 years. And then I stopped this year because the habit was just to write down today's little joys. It's just a gratitude practice or writing something, some sort of moment that happened in the day that made me smile. And so I've incorporated that habit into here. So every day I just put a joy that happened during the day that stood out to me, made me smile, or something that I want to remember that touched me in some way. So having that as part of my journaling practice has been really helpful and really nice, and I'll continue doing that. So again, I have a craft folder here that keeps the inserts in place. Then tucked into the middle, I have an insert that I made from leftover papers from inserts that I don't use or, that I was done with. And I just use the cover of the Traveler's Times just to staple everything together. So this insert I'm using for collaging and ephemera. So things that I get in Happy Mail, or if someone sends me something and there's like stickers or something like that, I just add it in here. So a couple of giveaways that I won from the Pen Addict, drawing from my kid, from my daughter, and then something from Atlas, the Coffee Monsters Co., and things like that. So this notebook, or this insert, sort of encompasses different types of paper, which is really cool. I have craft paper, Midori cream, lightweight, and there's a grid in here as well. So it'll make it really interesting to fill it up with stickers and ephemera. So that's this insert in the middle here. Then I have this pen loop with the sailor. The back of the craft folder holds a few sticker sheets. I think this is from Mindwave. I think they're really, really cool, really cute, small seasonal type stickers. And so I'm going to use those in my daily journal insert. And then in the back, held to the back cover with this Traveler's Company adhesive sticker, is the Everyday Book from Galen Leather. And it's TRP blank plain pages. And I'm using this for currently inked or notably inked spreads. And so what that means is basically every month I create this spread using fountain pens that stood out in that month, that I played with or that I explored, different nibs and things like that. So that in that way they're notable, is that they stood out to me that month. And I do this on my Twitch stream live. If you ever want to join, check out my Twitch profile and come join. It's really fun. It's really chill. And I just do this, on stream every month and create the spread. I also talk about the pens and the nibs and how I feel about the ink and stuff like that. So it's a great time. So if you're into fountain pens, check that out. But I kind of like having it in this insert because I can always refer back to pens that I've inked up. If I'm, if I need to know what ink it has in there, or if I need to sort of look back at how a nib wrote, this is kind of a great place to look back on. And it's very satisfying to see the different colors and the different lines that the nibs created. So those are my inserts in my traveler's notebook, and kind of my daily journal and space to go and reflect and have some creative time in here as well. So my last journal is the Hemlock and Oak Weekly and Daily Undated Planner. This was gifted to me by the Hemlock and Oak team. They wanted me to try out and test out their paper, which is a new one for this year. It's formulated especially for them. It's called Archivist 70 GSM. And I really enjoy the paper. And so I did test it out. If you're interested, I have a YouTube video that you can check out. But I have a couple of stickers here. This is from the Coffee Monsters Co. and this is from me. I created this. And another sticker from the Coffee Monsters Co., my intentions. And I'm sort of looking at this Undated planner as kind of a memory keeper, or a creative space, so I can do some art and journaling. Initially, I wasn't too sure how I was going to use it. But I think I've kind of fallen into a routine or a stride with this book. So the monthly spread, what I'm doing here is just picking out some of the highlights from each week and then just writing it down and then adding a little bit of sticker just for fun. I do use a fountain pen. So this is a Leonardo Momento Zero. It's a special custom ground nib called Reverse Architect. And so on the correct side of writing, it writes as a fine line. And on the reverse side, it writes in an architect line. And so you can kind of see that there's this variation in style of writing. And that's, I find that super cool. So then I have a list of flowers, and this references the daily pages where I'm doing art drawing, where I'm drawing flowers, where I'm doing the art. I'm drawing flowers based on a reference book, and the book I'm using is called Flower Color Guide by Taylor and Michael Putnam, and it's just a book full of photos of flowers, really, really beautiful, colorful. And so I'm just randomly sort of picking out a page, picking out the flowers, and then using that to practice drawing flowers. And I'm trying to do it every day, but it's hard to sort of set aside time every single day to do this, but I'm trying to sort of make it a routine or part of my habit. And I also do this on stream on my Twitch channel, so definitely check it out. Every Monday I try and do that. So that's the daily sections. Because they're undated, it's just every time I do this spread, I just date it and then move on. So I think at the end of the year, I'll have some pages left over because I won't be able to do this every single day, and there's enough pages for a full year, but I'm trying to do it as often as I can. And then on top of, or beside this drawing, what I'm doing is a little bit of journaling based on a prompt. And for the prompts or passages, I'm using The Pivot Year by Brianna West. And I like this book because it has 365 days worth of writing or paragraphs. And so on the days that I'm doing the drawing, just opening up this book, reading the passage for the day, and then picking out a sentence or two to transcribe onto paper, and then writing my thoughts around it. So it's kind of a nice way to reflect just, as like on life as a whole, or sort of where my path is going, how I feel about, my art and things like that. So it's kind of an introspective sort of way of journaling about my perspective on things. So that's been really fun. I've really enjoyed it. So I'll do a quick sort of, I haven't done too many of these. So I started January 2nd doing this kind of spread. And as you'll see, I have tried to do different kinds of floral drawings, pushing myself a little bit to try and draw different shapes with different colors, different types of flowers that I probably normally wouldn't see in real life. And yeah, just making it, as much of a practice in drawing as it is, just a piece of, or just doing art, being creative. So I'm really enjoying doing this as well. And then the weekly section. So we jumped from monthly to daily, and now we're in the weekly section. And so it is an undated weekly. And the way I started using this is the way I did my memory keeping for last year, except that last year I was using a Hobonichi weeks to do it. And so the layout was different. It was horizontal and, less space and things. And so I tried to transition that process over to this layout, and did that for the first couple of weeks. And then after I did the second week, I just did not vibe with it. It didn't look good to me. I didn't really enjoy doing it because I just felt like there was less space to kind of hand letter and write highlights of each day. And that's all I wanted to do, was write highlights and jot down like things that I really enjoyed about each day, or things that happened, and then have stickers and other things to make them stand out. And so after the second week, it didn't really work for me. And so what I started doing then is just writing down things that I had planned. So Twitch streams, hangouts, classes, and also using stamps. So when I, got Happy Mail, and then trying out, putting washi tape, and also using Tombow dual brush pens to time block. So when I did have something planned, I would just do the time blocking for the full week, and then come back after that week was finished, and then in a memory keeping type of way, actually write down, what happened in terms of the plans. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. So if things were rescheduled, I just, put a rescheduled sticker, and then just kept sort of moving through. So I think that really worked out well. Things were canceled. I just did a strike through, and it's fine. And then for this, the current week, I did time blocking and just wrote down the headers again using my fountain pen. And so next week I'll come back, and on stream I'll write down, a little bit more information about what actually happened. The reason why I like this style of spread a lot is because it shows me what I plan to do that week, and whether or not it happened. It just gives me an idea of the types of plans I'm making week over week, things that are happening in my life. It's just a reminder that we do things, whether or not we think they're small things, and, small events that happen. Regardless, we are busy, we are doing things are happening in our lives. And I like documenting that. I like, coming back and sort of post planning, or writing down plans that have happened and some details around it. And then adjacent to this book, I'm using a Hemlock and Oak notebook. And I got this notebook because I was curious about their archivist paper. And after I did some testing and found that the paper is really nice and handles fountain pens really well and handles inks really well, and it feels really good, decided to incorporate it into my memory keeping process. And so what I've been trying in here is after sort of the second week of when I decided that my memory keeping style of like the stickers and writing out or hand lettering highlights every day was not really working in this planner, I decided to try it in the notebook, just in an undated sort of a brainstorming kind of style, I guess. And even though it sort of follows a linear fashion where I'm doing, I'm writing out each day, it's very much based on how much I have to write per day. And so it's not a set space for each day, which can be a little limiting if a lot of things happen one day, but not a lot happened another day. And so in order to sort of balance that out, I'm using it in this kind of way where, every day I'm just or I write down every day and then just the highlights for the day. It's not like really small things, but things that I want to relate to stickers or have washi tape that's on in the same theme. And I think this is enough space to be able to use my accessories and stickers. And I really enjoy it for that reason. So it doesn't bother me that it's not predated in any way, or it doesn't have, the same space for each day. None of that bothers me. What I do really like it for is that it's just so freeing in terms of what my layout looks like and how much space I assign to each day. So that's how that is so far. I also did sort of a monthly recap with a little bit of washi. And so, yeah, I'm just going to keep sort of using it this way and decide if I like it or, how I'm going to continue using it. But I will continue doing the same memory keeping style of layout in this notebook in February, and then see how I feel about it. So this is kind of an add-on, or spillover maybe from this planner. And so far I kind of like using them in conjunction with each other. And I don't normally include art or sketchbooks in my planner and journal lineup, just because they're in a different category. But I did want to sort of mention really quickly that for my art or for my sketchbook purposes, I'm using the Everyday Book for ink painting. So if you've seen, if you follow me on other socials or on Twitch, I also do this on stream sometimes, where I just, pick out some fountain pen inks and I do a little bit of painting, abstract floral art with them. And I've also started using this year a Hanamila's sketchbook, and this is watercolor paper. Same sort of art style, so abstract floral art, using fountain pen inks as well as watercolor paints. And I've sort of, I've been kind of pushing myself to practice a little bit more when I can, and using different books for that as a way of testing paper, as a way of sort of exploring different papers that I have on hand, and seeing how, the inks and paints handle that. So that's been really fun as well. Kind of a creative outlet, or an outlet for my art on the side. So that's all of my books that I use on a regular basis. And if you've watched this far, thank you so much. And let me know in the comments what you're using, how your year has gone so far. What's a book that you're really excited for to continue using into February? It could be a planner or a journal. So thanks so much, friends. If you don't follow me already, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye.